Laura, please.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad that we can come together to this online workshop today and tomorrow. In today's presentation, I would like to talk about two very prominent inscribed Egyptian object amulets from the southern Levant, Isis and Pataikos. Among the uninscribed object amulets from the southern Levant, Bes and the Ujar eye are especially popular and found in large numbers. But the most frequently inscribed Egyptian object amulets from the southern Levant are, however, Isis and Pataikos. Object amulets in Egyptian style are spread over Egypt, the Levant, and the Mediterranean region. And the use of Egyptian style amulets in the southern Levant starts in the late Bronze Age and ends between the Persian and the Roman period. The dating of most of the amulets fits the phase of the Egyptian presence or of intense trade relations between Egypt and the southern Levant in the first millennium BCE. And maybe here we can connect to Shirley's ideas, because we have not the time of direct rule, but maybe kind of indirect influence. The dominant sites, as you can see on the map aside, are Megiddo and Beit Shean in the north, and in the south, Beit Shemesh, Lachish, Tel El Farah south, and Tel Jeme, and at the coast, Deir Balach, Ashkelon, Dor Atlit, and Achsif. And the colored dots, no matter what color, depict amulets at all, and the red circles around are sites where we found inscribed object amulets. Inscribed Egyptian amulets have been found at almost all of these sites in very small quantities. Only 60 out of 3,000 amulets found in the southern Levant are inscribed. This is until now 2% of the total amount. Therefore, the inscribed Egyptian amulets form a very small amount of the total object amulets in the southern Levant. They are a very specific subtype of Egyptian style object amulets, and this is not only the case in the southern Levant, but also in Egypt. In general, there are three types of Egyptian object amulets: theriomorphic or anthropomorphic amulets on the first line, zoomorphic amulets, and classical objects or symbols used as amulets. All of these types are also present in the southern Levant, but only deity amulets are inscribed, so only the first group. And this leads me to the hypothesis: in the southern Levant, between the late Bronze Age and the Hellenistic Roman period, numerous Egyptian or Egyptianized object amulets have been found, some of them with a hieroglyphic inscription. The working hypothesis is that not all inscribed amulets were made by the Egyptians themselves, but there were differences in the agents of manufacture and mediation between the inscribed amulets. And in this presentation, we will look at Isis and Pataikos as two examples for this. The roadmap for today's presentation starts with the material itself, so the amulets themselves, and ends with some ideas on the fabric and the inscriptions, as well as the distribution of the amulets. And we will start with Isis, Isis lactans, or Isis nursing Horus, and you can see on the right a few examples of these amulets. In the southern Levant, we found so far 15 hieroglyphic inscribed Isis lactans amulets out of 69 Isis lactans amulets at all. The dominant sites are spread over the south and north of the region. So in Ashkelon, Lachish, Tel El Farah south, Tel Jeme, Tel El Ajul, Beit Shemesh, Beit Shean, Megiddo, and Hatzor. Inscribed Isis lactans amulets were mainly from the Iron 2A and B. We have some from the Persian period, but this is the main time scope. Inscribed Isis lactans amulets show a relatively clear iconographic repertoire. Isis is depicted sitting, nursing a child, which is sitting on her lap. She herself is sitting on a throne with and this throne has a lion decoration. You can see this in the second picture. The amulets are of a middle size, and the textual formula of the Isis lactans amulets is quite similar. All Isis lactans amulets, inscribed and uninscribed, are made of Egyptian faience, and they just differ in the glazing. So we have different colors of the glazing. When we look at the parallels of Isis lactans amulets in the Mediterranean region, we can see that inscribed Isis lactans amulets are very rare in the Mediterranean region. Günther Hölbel mentioned inscribed Isis lactans amulets from Malta, but he has no picture and no provenance. The collection of the Moscow Museum shows a few fragmentary Isis lactans amulets, but without provenance. And the best parallels with clear provenance are two inscribed Isis lactans from the Kaumatma region. This is in Middle Egypt, dating to the 22nd till 25th dynasty. And here we have the lucky case that we can connect the amulet to the to other burial goods and the burial itself. So we have here this Isis lactans amulet, which was found with a female woman and with a female, and this Isis amulet, which was found with a child. In contrast to the Isis lactans amulets, Pataikos amulets are very prominent in the southern Levant. 15 inscribed Pataikos amulets have been found so far in the southern Levant out of 300. So we have here a much higher total amount of Pataikos amulets. The dominant sites are only at the coast, so mainly in Arsif and Ashkelon, and we have one single amulet from Lachish, and I brought you this amulet here in the bottom right, and this is also a little different in its iconographic appearance, so maybe a little different amulet. Most of the Pataikos amulets from the southern Levant date to the Iron II BC until the Persian period, and we have single amulets from the Iron IIA from Arsif. The Pataikos is a dwarf deity which is very prominent in Egypt and connected to the god Ptah. So this double name Pataikos, some scholars use this due to this. But to my knowledge, there are no textual sources from Egypt dealing with Pataikoi. In general, there are two types of Pataikos: the naked dwarf without attributes, and this one has normally no inscription. And the second one, a Pataikos with attributes. Very different combination of attributes is possible. In most cases, a designed bag. So in most cases, we have an Isis on the back. You can see it in the second, at the second amulet. Yes, this is the bag. And sometimes we have designed side surfaces. And this second type of Pataikos amulets normally bears an inscription on the base, sometimes on the back. And the Pataikos amulets are either made of Egyptian faience or of steatite, and we will come to this later on. When we look at the parallels for Pataikos amulets, you can see the pie chart on the left, which shows the distribution of inscribed Pataikos amulets over the Mediterranean region. And you can clearly see that many Pataikos amulets were found in the Western Mediterranean region, so in Carthago, in Ibiza, and in Sardinia, besides ours from the southern Levant. And this is in contrast to the high amount, this high amount of inscribed Pataikos amulets from the Western Mediterranean region. We have only a few provenance inscribed Pataikos amulets known from Egypt, and one is also from this already mentioned Matma region in Middle Egypt. The special case here is that it was found in an inscribed coffin with another amulet and an iron knife next to the buried person. So maybe this is a male burial, but we can see that Pataikos amulets are very prominent all over the Mediterranean region, and this is in contrast to the Isis lactans amulets we looked at before. Looking at the iconographic features of the inscribed Pataikos amulets, one can distinguish between two subtypes. So we are only looking at the inscribed Pataikos amulets, and now we have, based on the iconographic view, we have two subtypes. The first line, it marks the first group of foremost naked Pataikos, which are more or less curvy in their outer appearance. The amulets of these group are all made of Egyptian faience and bearing a complex hieroglyphic inscription on the base or on the back. The second group in the bottom line shows small cubistic Pataikos with strokes or drill holes. Some of these Pataiki are made of Egyptian faience, but the majority is made of steatite. The inscriptions are simplified or even just strokes or geometric forms. And all of these Pataiki have a standing Isis on the back and sometimes additional side surfaces. So we get a kind of two or four-sided amulet. This second group, the cubistic group, is distributed over the whole Mediterranean region. But unfortunately for the first group, for the curvy Pataiki, we are lacking almost for all amulets, as you can see, clear provenance. So to draw first kind of conclusion, although both Isis and Pataikos were very popular inscribed amulets in the southern Levant, there are distinct differences between the two types of amulets. We saw Isis lactans amulets are mainly from dating to the Iron IIa-B, and they are dominant in the south and north at various sites. They are made of faience, and we have just a few inscribed Isis lactans amulets in the Mediterranean region, so maybe this little group from Malta. And in contrast, the Pataikos amulets starting in the Iron IIb-C until the Persian period, and we have single ones from the Iron IIa. They are dominant at the coast, made of steatite and only some of faience. And the cubistic type is prominent in the whole Mediterranean region. So we saw this on the provenance of the amulets in Italy, in Carthago, and Spain. Isis lactans and Pataikos are both prominent inscribed amulets, but they are vary in the time period, the region, the material, and the distribution. So in the next part of the presentation, I would like to focus on some possible explanations of the differences between the two types of amulets. And therefore, we will focus on the material, the inscription, and the distribution of the amulets to draw some conclusions about their manufacture and methods of distribution. As could be shown in the previous analysis, all Isis lactans amulet and the curvy Pataikos amulets are made of Egyptian faience. This fabric consists of powdered quartz, flux, lime, and water that is mixed to a moldable paste, and this paste is pressed into a clay mold and fired by about 800 or 900 degrees. Good archaeological indications for faience production are molds, the debris, and the possibility of high temperature furnace. And all of these features have been found in Egypt in the Eastern Delta in Pyramesse-Cantir, dating mainly to the late Bronze Age. And the excavators found hundreds of molds and debris in a late Bronze pit, for example. I brought you a picture of some of these molds in the top right. Also Hermann collected a lot of molds from these regions. Molds and debris and ovens have also been found in Naucratis and Tel El Amarna by Petrie and Yehudia. And this stands in a sharp contrast to only 3 molds we have so far found in the southern Levant, in Tel El Arjoul, in Tel Rechof and in Geza. And all these molds depict this dwarf god base, and you can see the 3 molds on the picture here aside. In the Mediterranean region, we have also only a few molds, 4 from Carthago and 1 from Spain. And all this strengthens the fact that Egypt was the main center of faience production. The technology came from Egyptian sites, and we leave aside here the Mesopotamian faience technology. And mainly Egyptian sites show debris, molds, and the possibility of high temperature furnace. The second material amulets and also scarabs are made of is steatite. And this soapstone occurs naturally in the Egyptian southeast desert, in the Syrian mountains, and also at Cyprus. Archaeological evidence for steatite carving are highly under discussion. Unfinished scarabs, like the scarab here from Tel El Arjoul, and tools for carving and drilling are maybe the best archaeological evidence we have. In Egypt, during the Second Intermediate Period and the New Kingdom, Tel El Daba in the Delta, and maybe the Hatshepsut, so-called Hatshepsut workshop, are possible places for steatite working. In contrast to the faience production, we have good evidence for steatite working in the Levant and at the Levantine coast. So maybe this unfinished steatite scarab from Tel El Arjoul hints to a steatite workshop at this site. And for the Phoenician coast, several scholars discuss workshops in Byblos or Almina, Arsif, Tyros, Kition at Cyprus, and Astrid Nuhm proposes also workshop in the Western Mediterranean. So the methodological challenge of this steatite workshops lies in the traceability of these workshops and the archaeological evidence, but contrary to the faience production, which might be very likely based in Egypt, steatite workshops are also possible in Egypt and also at the Levantine coast. So to summarize this aspect, the curvy Pataikos amulets, the first line you can see, are made of faience. And we have good evidence for faience production in Egypt and nearly none at the Levantine site. You remember the 3 molds. And the cubistic Pataikos in the bottom line are mainly made of steatite. And this could be made in Egypt, of course, but we have also evidence for steatite working at the Levantine coast. So by this, we get a first impression of this. And I would like to look at the inscriptions in this in a second step. And yes, starting with the Isis lactans amulets, which bear a hieroglyphic inscription of a very fixed formula incised into the back of this little amulet and incised into the faience. The inscription is readable and meaningful, even if it's very short. And I think this is very, very important to remember. So we can make sense out of this inscription. And contrary, the inscriptions on the Pataikos amulets are a little more complex. The inscriptions on the curvy faience Pataikos show many hieroglyphic signs. You can see this on this inscription of one of these curvy faience Pataikos here. They show many signs. Looks a little like they have no clear arrangement, but starting from here and reading to over there, they are almost mostly interpreted as kind of solary trigrams or cryptographic inscriptions, but this does not mean only if we can make highly, we have some possibilities to make sense out of it. It does not mean it has no sense. I think this arrangement is clearly intended like it is. The inscription on the cubistic here in the bottom line under this red line, steatite Pataikos, are single hieroglyphs like you can see on this amulet, or just can be reduced to geometric signs or just looking like strokes. So the curvy Pataikos amulets show a complex inscription with many hieroglyphs, but without clear reading at the first place. The cubistic steatite Pataikos show a combination of single hieroglyphs or geometric signs. It seems that the complex formula of the curvy Pataikos amulets went a kind of transformation, and this is a theory by Baruch Brandl. It gets shorter and ends with kind of unreadable abbreviations. And the hypothesis could be that single hieroglyphs and geometric signs on the steatite Pataikos only imitate the short formula of the curvy faience Pataikos. So they would be a second step of this transformation process. If we look at the distribution of inscribed amulets, the map shows some spots for the amulets. Inscribed Isis amulets, these are the red dots, and the Pataikos amulets, the green dots, were distributed over the whole Mediterranean. But we can clearly see that the Isis amulets are concentrated here in Egypt and the southern Levant, and the Pataikos amulets were distributed over the whole Mediterranean region, and also in the Western Mediterranean. Inscribed curvy Pataikos and Isis amulets are, with some exceptions, concentrated in Egypt and the Levant, whereas the cubistic Pataikos amulets spread over the whole Mediterranean region, especially in the region where the Phoenicians had trading partners or settlements. To my knowledge, no Egyptian source is dealing with the Pataiki, but I'm interested to hear from you whether you know some. But interestingly enough, the Greek historian Herodotus describes Pataikoi. He connected the image of the Hephaestus in Memphis in its outer appearance with the Pataikoi. Then he explains that the Pataiko were on the boat, on the top of the boat of the Phoenicians. And for those who do not know this picture, he describes them as little dwarfs. Herodotus, with all due caution as to the historicity of these statements, draws a connection between the nature of the Pataikoi and the Phoenicians. And this leads me to the conclusion. The analysis of the amulets and the considerations on the material and the inscriptions of the distribution show an interesting outcome. Faience amulets, Isis, and the curvy Pataikos were mainly made in Egypt. Here, archaeologists found the tools and the technique for faience production. The readable hieroglyphic inscription hints to local scribes or trainee scribes who incised the inscriptions. The steatite amulets could also be made in Egypt, but also at the Phoenician and the Levantine coast. And from there, they could be traded over the whole Mediterranean region to the Phoenician sites, settlements, or trading partners. So I'm happy to hear your opinion on this topic, and thank you very much for your attention.